Hey guys, just bringing you a quick video just to answer a few of your questions that you've had to do with, I don't know, how to double jump, runes and masteries, that sort of thing. So the first thing I'll start with is my items that I usually buy. If I'm jungling, first item that you should always get is the warrior enchantment. Doesn't matter what type of smite, you can go green smite if you want wards, which is generally what I do. Blue smite is very good for ganking, even though Kha'Zix already has two slows. A third one is more than helpful, and it gives you the move speed as well. Very nice. And the red smite helps you with dueling. It's the one I buy the least often because I'm already pretty confident in my ability to duel, but it's definitely a viable option. So I think all three smites are good on him, and the warrior enchantment is obviously the one you want to get every time. No question about it. If I'm not jungling, I'll generally rush a Tiamat. Tiamat active is fantastic. I love the shit out of it. If you're versing a tank, you might want to go straight for a Youmuu's or even a Black Cleaver. If you're versing an AP, you can go straight for the Hexdrinker first. But I believe the core is for Kha'Zix is Tiamat, Ghostblade, and Black Cleaver. Ghostblade gives you a massive power spike. The active is fantastic. Only thing you have to note is the active will cancel your ultimate, so that can be quite a pain. It doesn't cancel the invisibility of champs like Twitch or Rengar, so it's a bit racist. Come on, right? Fix your shit. I want to be able to use the active while I'm invisible, so I don't fuck it up on the occasion. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter, but yeah. And then Black Cleaver, again, it's been buffed. It's a very good item. It gives you 50 AD, 20 cooldown, 20% cooldown, and all that armor shred. And was there something else? Oh, and the health is good too, yeah. It's a brilliant item, so sometimes you don't pick it up, and sometimes you don't pick up Tiamat. Depends on their team composition. If they've got a lot of tanks and you're not getting a lot of resets, Tiamat isn't often the best item to pick up, so you can avoid it. And if they are lacking a lot of tanks, then you don't have to go Black Cleaver. Instead, you can go something like Duskblade or Drakthar. But those are the items I pick up in about 95% of my games, so I consider them core. Anyway, on to the situational offensive items, which is what you want to get, what you want to fill your build with, if you like me. Fuck the defense. That's if you're a pussy. Anyway. So offense. Ravenous Hydra. This is something you should, if you build a Tiamat, this should be something you finish last. It's a good item, but it's just too expensive, and you just don't benefit enough. I mean, all you really get is AD and some lifesteal. The active doesn't really get stronger. It doesn't get stronger. The only thing it does passive-wise is your cleave will now proc lifesteal, which isn't the greatest thing for Kha'Zix. I mean, it's good, but it's not brilliant. So you pick it up last. It's good last item, but you generally don't rush it. Unless you really need good sustain in your lane or something, but generally I prefer the other options. They're more superior in my opinion. Duskblade of Drakthar is quite a good item against very squishy compositions or compositions in which you know you can easily delete their carry without much opposition. It's a bit of a risky one because all you get is pure offense. You don't get any utility whatsoever apart from an active, which is very hit or miss, and it's very easy to trigger it by accident. But the proper use of the item, on top of its perfect stats for Kha'Zix, move speed, armor pen, and full AD is just fantastic. It can be good, but buying it in the wrong situations can screw you over pretty heavily. So, and I'm often buying it and it screws me over. So don't pick it up every game, but yeah, it can be very good. You want to get more of Malmortius when you don't buy Duskblade of Drakthar usually, and you're against at least 2 APs usually. If they got 1 AP, you can probably skip it for, say, a Death's Dance or the Duskblade, but it's generally a very solid item. The passive on it's very good. The magic shield is great, but the lifesteal component of it is also really good as well. And the Spell Vamp, that's the one I was looking for. Spell Vamp is fantastic on Kha'Zix. If you're running a Duskblade, no, not Duskblade, if you're running a Maw and a Death's Dance, and even a Hextech Gunblade, which is an item which I'm going to go into in a moment, you can Q and you could heal like 800. It's pretty stupid, but anyway, yeah. You buy more Malmortius against AP threats. If they got 1 Fed AP, you can buy it as well. or you can just buy the Hex Drinker. A lot of the time I sit on just Hex Drinker because the Maw got nerfed and the ammo you get from it from fully upgrading isn't that much. So sitting on Hex Drinker for a while is generally a pretty good option. Death Stance is another really good item for Kha'Zix. It gives you that 75 AD, 10% CDR, and that really nice passive which heals you for 15% of your damage that you deal. That includes spells, not just attacks, which is great for an AD caster / assassin like Kha'Zix because it gives you that sustain in fights, and it also has the extra passive of mitigating 15% of your damage into a dot that you take over the next 3 seconds. So you can actually lifesteal off the damage that would kill you. And that passive is also very good because if you're going in for a kill, it may give you that split second to get off another Q or auto attack, which may even save you if you get the reset, you jump into a jungle camp, you start healing or something ridiculous like that. It has happened to me before, but yeah, it's a bit unlikely, but it is a very strong item. I wouldn't buy the item if in 2 situations. One, you already have enough AD to blow up your target, so you're probably better off getting some sort of defense. And 2, if you're already getting bursted way too hard, you're probably better off with something like a Guardian Angel or a Maw if it's against AP. Apart from that, though, it's a very solid item, and it's probably one of my favourites, personally. It's probably my favourite personal item, my Kha'Zix, apart from Tiamat. It's solid. It's good shit. The next 2 items I'll cover are the Last Whisper items, Lord Dominik's Regard, and Mortal Reminder. These items obviously are fantastic against tanks. You want them. It's probably good to pick it up if you're versing 2 tanks or 2 front lines that are quite hard to deal with. Or even against some squishies such as Ezreal or champions that buy Zhonya's Hourglass, because you're still negating 45% of that armor from Iceborne or Zhonya's. And that's still quite powerful. That's like 20, 30 armor or whatever. And you do get like 40 AD. I think in the next patch they're buffing it to 50. So I might start buying these items every single game if that patch goes through. Yeah, it's very solid, and every time, and the more I buy it, the more I like these 2 items. But which one do you get? Well, it's pretty simple. If they have a lot of healing, Mortal Reminder. If not, Lord Dominik's. Simple as that. Both fantastic items. Highly recommend. Good shit. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 with Rice. Next item is Mercurial Scimitar, which is something which is more of a niche than the other items, but if bought in the right circumstances, is one of the greatest items you can get. And that's because of its active, which removes CC. It doesn't remove things like Zed's Deathmark anymore, but you don't really need it for that. You never really bought it for that. You buy the item if you're getting slammed in the ass with crowd control. And if it's well timed, you can use it, go invisible, avoid any other CC they might throw at you, such as, I don't know, a Lux Binding. You get that move speed, and it makes you much harder to peel off the enemy carries. So it's really good in that sense. And it also gives you that extra bit of MR, which is very welcome, and 70... no, it's 65 AD now, which is still very good. Fantastic item. Trinity Force. I'm not going to say much about this. It used to be core back in season 4 and 5 for me, I believe, where it had a bit more crit, and there weren't as many options. Like, you didn't have Duskblade, you didn't have Death Stance back then. And it's still an item I do really like, but I have not bought it ever since it's got the change, which is removal of crit and 20% cooldown. And that seems like a positive for Kha'Zix, and you also get the more attack speed. That seems really positive, but one of the main reasons why I bought the item was that it used to combo really well with Ghostblade, which used to also have crit back in the day. And what that would mean is there was a good chance in fights where you go invisible, you Q auto a target, and then maybe you'll get a second auto off. There was a good chance you got a crit in there. And what I'd like to do in my late game builds is I'd like to buy an Infinity Edge. Now, this is where it got pretty saucy. Like, you Q someone for like 1200, then you'd auto them for 1000. It's just, oh mate, that gets me wet every time I think about it. Anyway, yeah, I don't know how good it is these days, so I'm not going to say much. I'm probably going to say it's not as good as the other offensive options you have, but it's a solid item. But it's just too expensive, and there's other options which outweigh it, in my opinion. But I'd have to do a bit of experimenting. Maybe it's fantastic. Maybe it's the greatest item for Kha'Zix in the game. I don't know, but I highly doubt it. And finally, Miramana, or Tear of the Goddess. This is something you buy on lane Kha'Zix, and it's personally not really my cup of tea because it delays your mid-game power spike too much for my taste. But I can definitely see the appeal on it. I mean, I think when you get it fully stacked in Miramana, I think it gives you like 60, 70 AD, something along those lines, and it also gives you it gives you 1,000 mana, which means you can go to town. You don't have to worry about mana costs. And the passive, which works with your Q, and it gives your Q quite a good amount of burst. It's really nice, actually. But as I said, it just, for my taste, it just delays my power spike too much. And it's something you'd have to experiment with personally, because I know a lot of people who really like the item, and it would give your laning phase. I mean, even if you max your W first and then evolve Q first, it'd give you a hell of a lot of sustain, so it'd be really good in that regard, but it just doesn't quite cut it for me, but it is definitely an option that you can consider. And then you have your defensive items. Again, it's usually in response to an enemy threat that is too great for you to ignore. It's something you have to respond to. First item I'll talk about, which is the one I generally buy, is Guardian Angel, which gives you resistances in both MR and armor. And it gives you that really nice passive, which gives you a second chance. And that second chance can be a goddamn godsend. And it also gives the enemy team, it puts a bit of pressure on them because they don't want to focus you because you're going to come back to life anyway. It's very good in that regard. So if I have to buy a defensive item because their team has a lot of mixed damage, as well as you're dying too much before you can have an impact, Guardian Angel is perfect in that situation. Next item, which is Dead Man's Plate, which I don't really have to explain too much. All it is armor and health, and it gives you a really nice move speed passive. It's as simple as buy it when you're against a full team of AD, or 4 really strong ADs, or whatever. It'll help you tremendously. The health and the health and the armor will be really helpful. Yeah, simple as that. And Banshee's Veil is the opposite. Buy it against crazy magic damage. And I very rarely buy Banshee's Veil these days because Mora Malmortius and Merc Scimitar exist, because they not only fulfill the purpose of defense against magical damage, but they also provide you with a fantastic offensive bonus as well. So I much prefer those items, but if you're really getting slammed in the bum, maybe you can sell your boots or something, I don't know. But it is an option which I would consider. And finally, Sterox Gauge is something against burst pretty much, but I very rarely buy it. But if you're in one of those games where every time you jump in, just everyone turns around and starts just firing all their skill shots and auto attacks at you, and you're just like, I hate my life, Sterox can be good. It's something I'd probably consider for beginners as well, who are trying to test their limits, because then you've got a bit more leeway to, the big shield is really nice, and you get a bit of base damage as well, and a good health pool from it. But it's generally the first two options are GA and Dead Man's Plate. But it's there because it is something you can pick up. I also forgot to mention what kind of boots you buy. It's always situational. Boots of Swiftness if you want to get around quicker, and if they've got a hell of a lot of slows. Merc Treads for CC and magic damage. Ninja Tabi for full AD compositions, or they got a lot of auto attackers. And what was the last item? CDR boots if you are not threatened by any of the above, and CDR boots is something you generally buy in the early game to try and hit the CDR curve a bit earlier, and then you might sell a bit later on for one of the other boots. Yeah, simple as that. I'm going to quickly talk about my rune page setup. I have two. They don't really differ that much. It's basically for when I'm jungling and laning against an AD opponent, and the second page is against AP or heavy AP. Anyway, it's pretty simple. I just run AD quintessences, gives you a bit more damage, gives you some better clearing, better last hitting, that sort of thing. Fantastic. Armor Pen Reds, because armor penetration is one of the greatest stats on Kha'Zix, probably the best in my opinion. It's fantastic. You can easily run 80 reds here as well. Like, it doesn't matter too much, but my personal preference is armor pen. I run a mixture of armor per level and normal armor yellows. This is mainly for my jungling, and it's for a bit of late game scaling against 80 carries. You can just go you can go full on just flat armor, which is perfectly fine as well. And in fact, it'll make your jungle clearing even better. But I'm comfortable with this setup personally. Just gives me a bit more scaling, and it helps my jungling. Simple as that. I run a mixture of MR per level blues and cooldown blues as well. 5% CDR. I mean, you generally CDR cap anyway, but this is purely for the early game, just to help the clears a bit more, and that sort of thing. You can just go flat magic per level blues here, which is fine as well. You don't need the 5% CDR, but I find it's very helpful, so I prefer to do that. My Kha'Zix page against heavy AP is pretty much the same thing. 80 quintessences, armor pen reds. Instead of armor yellows, I've got health per level, just to for a bit more late game scaling, and because magic resist yellows aren't very good. And then another 5% CDR on the blues and magic per level. I'm actually considering taking out the cooldown from this page because it's something I generally don't jungle with this page, so it might just be better to fully tailor it to have the full magic resist, because this is something I generally take in lane against things like LeBlanc, Azir, all that sort of shit. And the mastery pages, I'll quickly go into this, I won't go fully into detail. For my lane setup, I've got I go 12, 18, 0. In both pages, I go for Storm Raider Surge. Thunderlords is fine. I just really like Storm Raider Surge, and I'll quickly go over why. With Thunderlords, you get the extra damage, which is fantastic, which is really good for your trades and stuff. But with Storm Raiders, I feel it can give you even more damage if utilized correctly. And what I mean by this is, say in a situation, you're against an Azir or something, and you find an opportunity to trade on him. He uses his W, and then he Qs to get the backline or try and harass you. What you can do is you can quickly jump on Azir, do your combo, and once you proc Storm Raiders, you can either continue chasing them down, go for the all-in, and the move speed will allow you to do that. And they can even flash away. You might even catch up to them and kill them without blowing your flash, which is fantastic. And then if their jungler comes, you can flash away. Or if something happens, they retaliate, a jungler comes to gank you, you can just run away. And they can't even try and slow you because the Storm Raiders proc. So I really like it in that regard. But Thunderlords is perfectly fine, and a lot of people still run Thunderlords regardless. This is just something that really complements my playstyle of Kha'Zix, and either option, it's good. Good stuff. And I like to, in both my pages, go Dangerous Game. I don't go for 45% CDR. I prefer the armor pen, because armor pen is fantastic. I love it. Good shit. And then the offensive page is pretty much going for sustain and that spell damage sort of thing. The information's all in there. I'm not going to go into all the specifics into why I chose each and every one, but it's what I thought was the best. The main things to take from this is Dangerous Game and Storm Raiders. And then the jungle page differs a little bit. I go for... The two differences here is, instead of going for a bit more move speed and a bit more damage, I opt to go for longer buff duration and something to better complement my clears. Simple as that. The buff duration is just more valuable in my opinion. So something that's quite highly requested of me to explain is my jungling as Kha'Zix, and I've only really uploaded mid videos as so far, but I'll quickly show you just a quick example of my jungle route. I always start Gromp because I like the isolation and the buff it gives when you smite it. And I always start 3 health potions instead of refillable potion, because as Kha'Zix, I want to try and create as much pressure in the early game as possible. And you can get a bit unhealthy if you start refillable. There's nothing wrong with it, you can. And you can just do a quick early back and then get a jungle potion, that's quite good. But I like to start 3 health potions so I can get the level 3 ganks, which is what I often do in my games. Anyway, with blue buff, I kill the little ones first. And I let the Gromp buff finish him off because, well, you want it to get the isolation, obviously. And I like to get blue buff first because it just, it gives you the mana possible to clear the rest of your camp. Now, if I want to gank a lane, say gank looks, top looks quite gankable, I'll then do wolves. And this will give me level 3, or I can go mid as well. If I do this, again, clearing the camps. I don't know if that's the most optimal way, but it's the way I've always done it. I really should, yeah, look into my jungling, see if there's anything to improve, because I've been quite lazy on that front. Anyway, so level 3, I can obviously go gank or whatever. So yeah, I skill Q, W, then E. Q for the damage, W for sustain and more damage as well. And Q's got a really short cooldown, so you can spam the shit out of it. So that's why it's good to start Q first, especially when starting Gromp. Anyway, you go red next, or you can go red up straight after blue. Depends if you want to gank early or not. But doing red's fine to get. I've used all 3 of my potions, and I'm quite healthy. Like, you can gank with this amount of health. If I'm not feeling safe, I can go to Crab, for example. Quickly pick that up. And yeah, just, you pretty much, at all points of the game, your jungling route really depends on how the game's looking. Sometimes, I don't know, sometimes you might skip red, do like 2 ganks or something, because you look at the map and you can see these really good gank opportunities. Sometimes you might just do a full clear. And that's fine too, you know? If all the lanes are pushed and you can't really predict where the enemy jungle's going to show up, then do that. Yeah, it's, you know, but that's the way I usually start it, and I just wanted to make a quick little summary of why that is. Other thing people want to know is how to do the double jump, and it's quite simple. You get your target, or whatever target you want to kill low, you jump, you Q the target, you jump again in midair before hitting the ground. It's a trick that you can use in about 1,000 different ways. You can use it to escape situations, you can use it to gap boost to another target, you can use it to look like a fancy motherfucker like I always do because it's fun as shit to do. Another thing about the double jump is you can do it at any point in the jump, like get the reset at any point in the jump. So it pretty much effectively doubles your jump range, but it's a lot harder to do at the start of your jump because you have less time to react and you have to move your mouse pretty fucking quickly to jump to where you want to go and then cue your target. So I'll show you an example of that, and that's just like this. And that's a fair bit harder, yeah, as I explained, it's a fair bit harder to do since you have less time to react. And that takes a fair bit of practice to do consistently, and I still fuck it up even to this day. But if you can learn it and get good at it, it's a very good tool. And the thing with Kha'Zix's jumps is a lot of the usefulness comes from your creativity in the situation, which can be quite difficult to find, especially when you're newer to the champion, but when you get good with the double jumping and all that, not only do you look like a fucking badass, but you're also making the play, son. It's fucking brilliant. Hello, Archie. And another quick thing I'll show you is you can obviously do the double jump using your Tiamat, which is an item I consider core on the guy. Because a lot of the time your Q is on cooldown, especially going for the triple and quadra jumps. So, you know, Tiamat, midair, yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. What the fuck is this guy doing? Get the fuck out of here, Lucian. Alright, great. Outplayed. Yeah, so I just wanted to explain that for you guys, and I'm going to go more in depth and explain it better when I make my big guide, but that might take like 4 months or something. I don't know how long I'm going to spend on it. I don't know how I'm going to edit it because, you know, I just wing this shit, so yeah, I just thought I'd quickly explain it. It's a bit awkward when you go to make a quick, brief video just to explain some of my, you know, the Kha'Zix basics, and then you ramble on for about 25 minutes when you go back to edit it. Yeah, good one, me. Yeah, good one on the short video. Brilliant. Anyway, so I just want to ask you guys a quick question. Do you prefer me to make, in regards to ranked commentaries and all that sort of thing, do you prefer the full video so you can just watch my whole thing, like laning phase, just decisions like that? Or would you prefer to see just the highlights and that sort of thing? Because I'm starting to lean towards doing more of the highlights. I'm not that good at talking for long periods of time. I'm better at shorter bursts and being, I don't know, having more of a plan about what I'm talking about instead of winging it, because then I'm like, a million bloody times. So I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that. Or maybe I can just do a mix, like, I don't know, one video's highlights, the other video's full game or something. I don't know. Just wanted to see what you guys would think of that. I will still probably upload a full-length video of Jungle Kha'Zix game because I haven't done that yet because I've always been playing mid. Anyway, and another idea, I've got a good idea. I don't know if you guys want to see it, but I'm going to ask now. In the background, you can see I'm playing on an account called Bugsplat. That is my level 25 account, which I'm thinking what I could do is an unranked to diamond with Kha'Zix only on this account. And I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that. Would you really enjoy seeing that sort of thing? It also might help me on tilt a lot because I've gone down back to Diamond 5 and I currently feel terrible because I'm bad at the game. But yeah, so if you guys would like to see that, let me know, and yeah, I can do it. I just have to get off my ass and finally get this account to level 30. Anyway, thank you for watching this brief video about just some questions that people have asked about, Rune Masters and all that sort of shit. And yeah, see you guys later.